Good evening. How are you tonight? I thought I'd jump back on and just talk a little more about my big adventure at Dartmouth and what they said to me and how I interpreted it. Um, I kind of came on and what did I say? That it was my choice about the chemo. Chemo was taking me alive. Well, the final report came in from the PET scan, and they They said this tumor is stable. It has not grown any bigger, hasn't gotten any smaller, but it hasn't done anything. It did show a lot of evidence of the pneumonia I had, which the visiting nurses felt bad about because I kept saying, oh, it's probably the tumor pushing on. Oh, no, maybe it's bronchitis. And then finally I got to the point where I went to the doctors and said, well, I'm on chemo, my immune system's down, I can't get rid of this. So the x-ray did show extensive atelectasis in my left lung, which is kind of a lot of fluid and crap sitting in there. And then I had some ground glass opacities, which is like scarring from pneumonia, or, you know, and then I had reactive lymph nodes, so all signs of an infection. I am starting to feel a lot better. I guess somehow hope has creeped in here. The chemo makes me really, really sick, and I really hate doing it. But if it keeps me alive, I guess I have to do it. And the first day when I do the infusion, I don't feel that bad, and then the next day I don't feel good. So that's usually on a Wednesday that happens. I'm usually down Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and usually by Monday, it's starting to feel a little better. Now, the oral pills I'm taking, capecitabine, they put me on a really large dose of them, 5,000 milligrams. And that was really, really, really ripping up my stomach. So, I told him I had stopped taking them. So he said, well, instead of stop taking them, why don't you take half? So Wednesday rolls around the 1st, which happens to be Ash Wednesday. So I have to go to church and get blessed, and then go get my chemo and start my pills all on the same day, and we'll see what happens. Now, I will say I was so fatigued, my legs felt so heavy, just could not do anything. And the doctor put me on a very small dose of Ritalin, which is quite shocking, 2.5. But it's like a dream. And I keep saying, well, something bad's got to happen for this, because for the last couple days, I don't feel like I'm going to go jogging a marathon or running, but my legs don't feel really heavy. I feel like I can accomplish a little bit. I can get things done. I mean, I'm not overwhelmingly fatigued, which is insane. I don't understand it. I really don't understand how they do that. They do. But I am afraid I won't take them every day because it scares me, because it just seems too big, too good to be true. And there's always a consequence at the end. So, I mean, I'm afraid if I take them every day that it'll just wear off and it won't help anymore. So I am going to try to pick 3 days a week and do them, just so that I have the ability to clean my house. I have the ability to go out and do something in the afternoon, and then take it one day to, besides cleaning laundry, kind of have a crafts day, try to do things for myself. So we'll see how that works. Now, the great phenomena that I'm getting from everybody around me because of the way I look says, we don't think you're going to die. We think you're going to be here a long time. And it's so weird because part of me wants to believe that. But part of me, my body feels like it's falling apart. There's some creature in my body sucking every ounce of life out of me. So I don't know. I want to believe. I hope that I can be here all summer and have somebody help me plant my gardens and get my flower gardens in the shape and have beautiful flowers all summer. And that brings me such joy. Um, so I really kind of look forward to that. And a friend of mine came over. He's brother of a friend of mine, and he hung some pictures up for me. He did a few things, and it made me feel really good. It was not a lot, but it was just enough to feel like there's something else done in this house. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure if any of you saw this house, you'd be like, what is she complaining about? The house is done. But I mean those final touches, those little things. And then we got to start the upstairs. Like I said, I had a guy coming in doing work, and he kind of backed out because there was a tricky curtain rod to be hung. So we kind of stopped there. So my friend promised to come back and work on that. And then that room will be ready to rock and roll. I just need a seal for the toilet. And I need to put cord around on the base of the tub against the tile floor with rubber cement or something to that effect, something to hold it in place. And then the bathroom will be in really good shape. I have curtains for that bathroom, the other bathroom. I have curtains for the other bedroom. They've been here 2 years and they never got up. And they'll get up. And then half the curtains up are in the master bedroom upstairs. I'm kind of excited about that. I really am. You just sometimes wonder why God makes things so hard. I'm not a whiner and I'm not a complainer, and I have marched through my life and done everything that I needed to do. I got myself a good education. I got myself a good job. I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I have kind of an example of a friend who's not doing really well, very depressed, had a business, lost it, really has no education, and at 61 years old, she's looking at a very small Social Security and the fact that she's probably going to have to go back to work. And I said to her, you're probably going to have to, cashier or maybe try to get into a hospital as a secretary, And she just, went ballistic. Said, I can't be a cashier. I said, well, nobody rides free. You got to do something. If I didn't have money, no matter how sick I was, I would go out and do something. In my entire life, I was never homeless. Even if I got sick, I had pneumonia once, I was out of work for a month. On the 30th day, I got up and I went to work. It was hard, but I did it. So I just think it's mind over matter. It's the old fight. You struggle and you go on, or you give up. And when you give up, I don't know what happens because I've never given up. Sorry, sinus problems tonight. And I guess that all started when I was very young. I came from a very dysfunctional family, very middle class family. My parents owned a restaurant, but I had a lecherous grandfather who was a diddler, and he did some damage because I was the fighter. I was the one that ratted him out, but I have a sister that I think is severely damaged by that whole thing, and we live with these things through our lives, and I can remember feeling so alienated, so alone, so afraid in kindergarten. My parents had divorced. Things were crazy. Got this crazy grandfather. It was a very strange thing. I used to remember being 5 years old, walking down the street from school, and I remember sitting in school and just feeling like I didn't belong there. I was an alien. And I'd walk down the street, and I'd go to the big Catholic church and take my 3 pennies and light candles and pray. you know. But obviously God was listening because he helped me through it. You know, it was like one of the hardest things in my life. There's stuff that happened before that when my mom and dad were divorcing, but you know, I just can't go back that far and talk about those crazy things. But, so, you know, that was a big turning point in my life. I went and ratted him out, told everybody what he was doing, and I basically got yelled at and told to be quiet. And then 3 weeks later, my neighbor's daughter told her dad what he was doing, and there was a huge fight on the lawn. I never forget it. It was terrible. And at that point, my dad had custody of us, and my grandfather, my mother's father and mother were living with us. They were taking care of us because my dad was working. So after all this happened, which happened in the summer, sometime, well, and then in December I was on a sled and I was making jumps and jumping over them and went over jumping, hit a tree and ruptured my spleen, almost killed me, almost bled to death. And back those days, it kept me in the hospital forever, it seemed like. Well, it seemed like a long time to me. And when I got out, I never went back to the house that we lived in with my grandparents. My dad had moved, met another woman, got engaged to her, married her, all in a short period of time. And she became the new caregiver of us kids, you know. She was very young. And I think she was very ill-prepared to take care of children. And that's another whole ball of wax. I'll talk about that some other times. But these little lessons in life, which can be really horrendous, that can break or make so many people, were my stepping stones to having a better life. These are the kind of things that drove me on. You know, I'm not saying it didn't affect me, yeah. It took me a long time to... Because once all those weird things happened, it's like you repress them, you bury them, you don't think about them. And then you're 18, 19, you're drinking, you're all screwed up, and all this weird stuff's happening. And then one day it just kind of seeps out and you realize there's some big, nasty monster inside of you that's eating you up. And you're the only person in the world that it ever happened to. And you don't know what to do with it. So you let it keep eating it up. You know? And so you drink. So you party. You try to block it out. And it keeps bubbling back up to the surface. Now, I lived a large portion of my life shoving that down, believing that that made me a very bad person. And somehow it was my fault that that happened. And there's more to the story, but I'll go into it later, which then involves my mother. After my mother child napped me from my father when I was 10 years old and left my brother and sister behind. And that was a whole different world when I got to my mother's house. It wasn't like living with my father, who was a staunch Catholic and made us go to church twice a week. You know, and we would have to fast, and we'd have to follow all the rules and go to Sunday school, make confession every week. I mean, we lived a pretty regimented life. That was his way of trying to keep everybody in order, you know? I was always a really wild kid, and I don't know if that came from having to be a fighter. And they always said I was impish. I was always up to no good or into something, you know, tomboyish. Leave it to Tracy, you know, to fall off the dock when she's not supposed to fall off the dock, you know. But, you know, those memories shaped my life for a very, very long time. It gave me deep-seated anxiety, which I had well. But deep down inside, I never thought I was a good person. That I must have done something wrong in my life to have that happen to me. And it wasn't until, God, 10 years ago, I think I had an intervention with God. came to my room one night and I was crying, saying, if only things had been different in my life, where would I be today? And somehow, after that night, God told me to put it all away. I did, and I put it away, and it's never bothered me since. They call it a miraculous healing, or something happened. Now I have other brothers and sisters that struggle with this, and their lives are basically ruined. Alcoholism, drugs. You know, my brother's very educated, but he just can't function within the realms of society. You know, he's very bitter, he's very angry. And, you know, I've told him, you gotta let stuff go. If you don't let it go, you can't heal the problem. So, I kind of wanted to get that out there. It's been on my mind. My cancer, I guess it's stable. I live with the pain that it causes in my chest and my back. And now the pneumonia's clearing up, I don't quite feel like I'm on death's door. And then go back to what the doctor said about the chemo. It's my choice. We can probably keep this cancer at bay for a while, but you have to stay on the chemo. And if you get tired of that quality of life on the chemo, then you stop it, and then you die. So it's kind of funny, you know? I mean, there could be other circumstances, like cancer could go rogue, you know, become totally aggressive, and then we'd have to find a totally different treatment. But as it stands right now, my life lays in my hands. My choice to do chemo or not to do chemo. And because I'm not ready to die, I am going to do chemo. What else can I do? Seems to be the only thing I can do. Another interesting tidbit, the weather's gotten very warm, you know, the snow has melted. I went to let my dogs out the front door. My one dog doesn't have to go on a leash, the other one does because he wanders around. And I opened the door and I looked out on the third stair. You know, there's only 3 stairs, short stairs off my porch. And there's a big black and white skunk. Well, I grabbed that dog that was about to go out without the leash and whipped her back in and started making some noise. And I thought, oh, here we go. Damn thing's going to spray the whole front of my house. I kind of kicked the door, and the dogs barked, and he scuttled off down the road. Thank God. You know, I have been seeing him in my backyard around my deck and the bird feeders. And I do have a bunny back there, and little bunny don't bother me. And I have gray squirrels. They're just coming out of their leaf balls, you know, their little cozy hibernation nest. I think because the weather has gotten warm. You know, if it gets bad again, I'm sure they'll go away. So it's been a lot of activity around here, you know. There's been a lot of things going on. Signs of life. The heartbeats of life. I always loved, like, fall when everything dies off, gets old and go away, because there's a promise after hibernation of a new life. New leaves, buds, springing of trees and branches and flowers. And in a way, it's like a new start on life every year. It's like being reborn. That's how I've always looked at it. I could never live in like a single climate. Hot weather all the time would drive me nuts. I definitely am a seasonal person. I need to experience winter, summer, fall, spring. I need all those things in my life because they just are connected to me and invoke different emotions in me in different ways that I need to carry on, you know. So, I don't want to make this overly long because I think sometimes people don't listen to them. But that's kind of my thoughts of the day. I'm alive. I'm not dying of cancer right now. I'm living with cancer. I'm taking chemo, which is totally my choice. And as long as I continue with the chemo and it works, I should have some remission or standstill of the tumor which will give me more time. I mean, I was hoping the tumor would shrink to get rid of some of these horrible symptoms I have, the pain in my chest, the pain in my back. I know. But that's not going to happen. I've lost 9 pounds, but I think that might partially be because I was sick with that pneumonia stuff, and I'm just not eating as much. So we'll just have to see what happens. We will. But as I say to all of you, I think about you. I am so grateful that I have you. You have brightened up my life. You have made me feel so much incredibly better. And I hope the things I say can put some sort of perspective in your life if you're struggling with things. Or know that you're not alone with things that you've struggled with in your life, that other people have experienced them. And you survive it. You can survive it. You don't have to come out a total reject, messed up person. You might dance, you may walk to a different drum, but, I mean, you can function and be a human being. Now, I have a very hard time bonding and having close relationships with men. Gee, I wonder why. I don't trust them. I wonder why that is, but just everybody, I believe, has something that is in that closet that drives them nuts, that scares them. And I want you to know you're not alone. We all have those kind of things. It's what we do with it. It's what we do with it that changes the way we are. We can rise above it and continue on, or we can let it crush our lives. I chose not to let it crush my life. And so many things in life I did that. I just refused to let it crush my life. I had to figure out the best way for me to live and what I needed to live that way. So, and as I always say, keep fighting, keep fighting. Don't ever let anybody tell you this is it. That's all you can do. Because there's always something else you can do. And no, you're not alone out there suffering. That there's a lot of us out there suffering. And together, in communication, we can all feel a little better and not feel so isolated in our loneliness of it, my dream is to still have a great companion that I really care about here with me. But, I just can't make that happen. I mean, it's got to work. It's got to be a good connection. If God wants it to be, it will show up here. If not, then so be it. That's how I live my life. But I'm very busy. I think I've said I've got 2 dogs, 2 16-year-old dogs, 3 kitty cats. I do a lot of crafty stuff. I love decorating when I have the energy. So I try to keep myself busy. I'm trying to keep this house clean as a job and a half. Like, I've been so sick, it's really been hard to get things done. But I peck away at them, I get them done, So the beep word of the night is stay strong. No, you're not the only one that's gone through a horrific, horrible thing. And that you can survive it, and you can rise above it. And of those you with cancer, and they tell you it's over, don't believe it. Because there's only one person who knows when our day comes. So if there are any options, take them. Because if you have loved ones around you, they will be so grateful that you stayed. Unlike my loved ones who really don't even care, but I'm getting over that now. I mean, that was last week's news. This week, something new, so we will start working on that. So I've become the crochet monster. I'm crocheting scarves for everybody, hats, gloves. And now winter's almost over. I'm always like a couple months behind on the trend, but oh well. I'll have them for next winter, right? So now, with March approaching soon, I'm going to have to get all my little seed pods out and start planting my annuals, which I usually do by seed, so I don't have to spend a fortune I'm buying, 6 packs of petunias and marigolds and Gerber daisies. I plucked all my seeds from last year, and I am ready to go. So, I'm hoping that I have enough energy and a couple friends to help me clean up the gardens, pull out the old stuff, do not ruin the perennials that are in there, and do a new plant. And I'll be very tickled if I get that. And then my gardens, I was really sick. I didn't strip my gardens. But now it's got all that nice, mulchy, nice old leftovers from last year. So I'll probably have somebody go down with me and help me pound in some plastic, clean out the really big, chunky stuff, and leave the rest of it to kind of like bake into the soil for a month. Add some good old cow poop. I do not use fertilizer. I do not use bug spray. And the garden I had last year was quite good, except for the bunnies, the raccoons, and the deer. And I used to live way out in the country, and none of those things bothered my garden. And I came to town, and it was like World War III. I lost all my plants like 3 times. I had to replant 3 times. And then I finally got some non-lethal deterrent stuff, which helped quite a bit. And I had to put fences all around my raised garden beds to keep them out, And then I had a bumper crop of eggplants, tons of them, tons of tomatoes, tons of peppers, which is a funny story, radishes, cabbage and carrots, all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, guess what? I was so sick this summer I couldn't eat any of it. I gave it all away to my neighbors, but maybe that was what was meant to happen, to give it away to my neighbors. Okay, it's late. I should be trying to sleep. I just wanted to make this video. I will post it. And just remember, you're not alone in your battles. There's millions of other people going through it every day. And I'm here. We're here. I know a few of us have really bonded, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for your friendship. It means the world to me. And to other people just tuning into this, just remember, you just gotta keep fighting. Do not take no for an answer. And what do they say? The squeaky wheel gets the oil. And I found that to be true, so just keep fighting. And I'll talk to you soon. I love you all. I love you all very much. And let's pray for better days. Okay? Good night.